Hi, everybody. Welcome to English Digest. I'm Stephanie.
I'm Tom.
Hey, it's our TOEIC unit, and we're on day 2. You know, from day 1, we're talking about being stranded at the airport, having your flight canceled due to weather or some other things. We often have flights that are canceled due to mechanical failures. And I'm always happy when they take their time to fix a plane. Even though I think one time I was flying to America during a Christmas or Chinese New Year, and we were stuck in the airport for almost 8 hours waiting for them to fix the plane. So it can get really, really tough. And you can't go home because they don't tell you how long it's going to take.
Right.
So you're kind of stuck there forever. That's what is most frustrating for me, is just not knowing if I can leave or should I stay.
Okay, and of course, sometimes if you have your flights canceled, passengers can be unruly. They can be very frustrated. They can get angry. And of course, most people kind of think, hey, don't they know how this is interrupting my life? I've got an important meeting tomorrow. But then I heard somebody complaining about that delay in San Francisco. Remember that I mentioned that last time? But I was thinking, yeah, you and like 300 other people here in the waiting area have the same problem. So I don't know why your problem is more important than other people's.
Because some of those people think they're more important than everybody else.
That's right. Most of us do. Most of us think that our lives have priority and everybody else is just, okay. They don't need to worry about things. But we do have a disgruntled passenger today, an angry passenger. And he's just very frustrated because I guess he's going to miss a business meeting because of this cancellation. And he wants the service people to do something about it. So let's find out what this guy says to the staff here in today's article, today's conversation, and it's entitled Stranded at the Airport. Let's listen.
Stranded at the airport. Good evening, sir. How may I help you?
I just found out that my flight to Singapore has been canceled because of the typhoon. I've been stuck here at the airport for hours, and no one can give me a clear answer. I can't even leave the airport because I don't have a visa. This is absolutely ridiculous.
I truly apologize for the inconvenience, sir. I understand how frustrating it must be to be stranded here. The typhoon has caused significant disruptions, and all flights are grounded until the storm passes. We're doing everything we can to ensure passenger safety.
I get that it's not your fault, but I have important meetings tomorrow, and this is really affecting my plans. Is there any way I can get a flight rebooked for a later time?
I completely understand how frustrating this is for you. Unfortunately, we can't accurately predict when flights will resume, but we're monitoring the situation closely. I'll make sure you receive priority rebooking once our operations are back on track. In the meantime, I'll arrange a hotel stay and meal vouchers to make your wait more comfortable.
All right, I guess that helps a little, but I still feel like this situation could have been handled better.
I understand, and I assure you that we're doing our best. Please stay in touch with us for updates. And again, we truly appreciate your patience. Okay, guys, let's look at the title. We've got one of our vocabulary words right there. It says stranded at the airport. If you're stranded somewhere, you're stuck. You're stuck in a place and you don't have a way to leave. Maybe you've been stranded because you went shopping with your family and they left you at the store, not realizing that you weren't in the car when they wanted to go home. That's happened to families. Or if you're watching a TV show or a movie, sometimes someone is stranded on a deserted island. There are no other people on the island and someone is just stuck there. That's a scary thing. So you can be stuck, stranded, trapped, marooned. We would use marooned if we were talking about that person on a deserted island.
Exactly. So in this particular case, a passenger and other passengers are stranded at the airport. They can't go anywhere. They have to wait for the airlines to sort out this problem. And the passenger goes to talk to the staff, and the staff begins the conversation by saying, "Good evening, sir. How may I help you?" So, of course, if you're on staff In an airline, you have to be polite to passengers. You can't just say, "What the heck do you want? The plane's delayed. What do you want me to do?" No, you still have to be very polite and very helpful.
You do. The passenger's kind of angry, though, you know. He just found out his flight to Singapore has been canceled, of course, because of the typhoon. And he's stuck at the airport. Usually we're stuck for quite a while. I was really excited the last flight I flew out of Taiwan on. It had some mechanical problems, but it only took an hour. And I was so happy because I shared in our last program that I was stuck almost 8 hours the last time we had a mechanical problem. So, yeah, it's best if you can get on a flight where the plane is already in that city before, you know. So it flies in late the night before. That's the best flight to fly out on because you know you're not going to have to wait for it to come from another city.
Exactly. Okay, so again, we've got a passenger here who is upset about the flight being canceled. And of course, again, the staff asks the man how they can help him. And the passenger says, "I just found out that my flight to Singapore has been canceled because of the typhoon." So he's probably a little upset. His life has been interrupted because of this cancellation. He just found out that his flight to Singapore has been canceled. Okay, Singapore, of course, is a business center in Asia. So, of course, lots of people go there for business meetings or to conduct business or whatever. And yes, his flight has been canceled, and that's because of the typhoon. So that's probably going to interrupt his travel plans. He's probably going to miss his meeting.
Yeah, he doesn't have a visa. Now, he says something that I've never heard of before. He says, "I can't even leave the airport because I don't have a visa." I have left the airport not having a visa when I've had to wait for a plane. So that's an interesting situation. I guess he's being extra careful. But the police aren't going to approach you in another country and say, "I need to see your visa." I've never seen that happen in my whole life. So a visa, of course, is an official document that you have to get if you want to travel to other countries. If you don't plan on staying in a country, for example, you might fly through Singapore. If you're not going to stay in Singapore, you don't need a visa. It's just a transit. You're going through the airport. You don't need to get official documentation. That's what he's complaining about. He doesn't have a visa for Singapore. He was just going through the airport on his way to somewhere else. And of course, then he gets kind of rude and he says this is absolutely ridiculous. If something's ridiculous, it can be either unreasonable, where someone says this is just stupid, unreasonable, or it can be silly or ridiculous, kind of laughable, but it's rude either way.
Exactly. So the staff, of course, are sorry about this, or at least they have to appear that they're sorry. They probably don't really care one way or another. They're more worried about taking care of the situation. But here the staff says, or the staff member says, "I truly apologize for the inconvenience, sir. I truly apologize. I mean it from the bottom of my heart. Although deep down I'm thinking, ha ha, you're not going to be able to go to Singapore, ha ha." Oh, maybe not. No, they're still probably very sympathetic toward those passengers. And the staff member goes on to say, "I understand how frustrating it must be to be stranded here. Yes, you can't leave the airport at all. You have to wait for us to have another flight, or you have to wait for the typhoon to pass. And yes, it can be frustrating. And indeed, frustration is just when you can't get what you want and there's something getting in your way. Something's blocking you from getting what you need. So you feel frustrated because of a frustrating situation."
Now, the typhoon, the staff member says, has caused significant disruptions. A disruption is a break in how something normally works. It's an interruption. So something's gone wrong if there's a disruption. And the staff member says all flights are grounded until the storm passes. If you're grounded, you'll hear this word a lot. If you're in an airport or you frequently fly, it just means that airplane is not allowed to fly or even leave the ground. Now, what does it mean in English if a parent says this to a child? Tom.
Yeah, you're restricted because you were naughty, you did something bad, so you are grounded for a week or you're grounded for a month. In other words, you can't go out with your friends, you have to stay home for a full month, or you can still go to school and stuff like that.
Oh, school, yes, but you can't go play.
Yeah, you can't go out at night, basically. You have to stay home and do your homework or whatever. And so that's what that means when you're getting punished for something by your parents. But here to be grounded means the flights cannot take off. They're on the ground, and they won't take off. And the flights are grounded until the storm passes. After the storm passes, and when the land and sea warnings are lifted, then they should be able to resume normal service.
That's right. The passenger says, I get that it's not your fault. I get that just means I understand. It's a very casual way, and we use it all the time when we speak. I get that you're angry, but it's not my fault. I get that you're late, but I don't want to hear your excuses. I get that you're busy, but you still have to attend this meeting. It just means I understand. So, yeah, the passenger says, I get that it's not your fault. Of course, it's not the airline flight attendant or the attendant, or what do you call the people that work in the airport?
The staff or whatever.
Airport employees,
yeah.
It's not their fault, but he's very important, and he has important meetings tomorrow, and this is really affecting his plans. Well, join the club, buddy. Join the club just means everybody else is in the same situation, and he needs to understand that there's really nothing they can do. It's weather. What are you going to do? He wants to know, is there any way I can get a flight rebooked for a later time?
Right. So he understands that there's going to be a delay, and he wants to rebook a flight for a later time. I think most people probably want to do that. At least figure out a way to continue their journey on to wherever they're going. And the staff member says, I completely understand how frustrating this is for you. Again, it's very frustrating. You can't get what you need, so you're kind of feeling angry, a little frustrated. Unfortunately, we can't accurately predict when flights will resume, but we're monitoring this situation closely. So yeah, they are kind of stuck there. They don't really know what to do because they need to wait for the government weather service or whatever to determine it's safe to fly or it's safe for boats to go out in the ocean. They need to lift those land and sea warnings to make sure flights can continue or that those flights can resume. To resume just means to continue what you were doing at the beginning.
But the staff member also says they're monitoring the situation closely. To monitor something is to follow something. To see what the progress is. If you're in a hospital, you'll see that the patients are often hooked up to monitors that measure their blood pressure, their heart rate, things like that. That's very important. Well, the staff member also says, I'll make sure you receive priority rebooking. So he's going to be one of the first people in a long list of people who need to rebook, which is a nice thing to hear. But this will only happen once their operations are back on track. If something's back on track, it was interrupted for some reason, and then if it's back on track, it just means it returns to normal operation after some problem they had. Picture a train, and it jumps the tracks. It's off the track. It can't go anywhere, right? But once it gets back onto the tracks, then it can resume its journey. That's where that phrase comes from, back on track. So hopefully the weather changes soon for this poor gentleman, but it sounds like he's got some good news coming up.
Yep, it says, in the meantime, at least while we're waiting in this time, I'll arrange a hotel stay and meal vouchers to make your wait more comfortable. Okay, so here the staff member is going to make arrangements for this passenger to stay at a hotel, and he's also going to receive meal vouchers. A voucher is kind of a certificate, some kind of guarantee that you can get a meal or something. It's a printed piece of paper, it's a document or whatever, and if you present it to people in the restaurant, then they'll give you a meal. And I'm wondering how they're going to arrange this because he said he does not have a visa for this particular airport. So if he's going to go to a hotel, do they have to guard them or something so they don't go out or something like that? Or do they stay in a hotel that's connected to the airport? I'm not quite sure how this works.
Usually when they put you up at these hotels, they're hotels that are right there by the airport. And like you said, when you had the bad experience and were put into a hotel in San Francisco, they're usually far, far away from tourist attractions or tourist sites. I once had to stay in a hotel. I think I was in Tokyo, and it was unexpected, but my hotel was very close to the airport, but not close to anything else.
Right.
So I just stayed in my hotel room and watched TV, which is boring. But that's usually, their partner hotels are usually near the airport itself. And if you're near an airport, you probably don't want to have a lot of tourist attractions in that neighborhood. It's very noisy. No one wants to live by the airport. It's not a fun place. So, yeah, they give you a hotel and meal vouchers. A voucher is usually just a piece of paper. Nowadays, I bet they're electronic, and they can put them on your phone with a QR code of some sort. But it's a document, and it gives you a discount or free service. You could call it a certificate or a coupon. Those are some other words, but they don't have to pay anything. It's free. So they get a free meal and a free stay overnight in a hotel.
Okay, so the passenger seems a little more rest assured here, although he's still kind of angry. He says, all right, I guess that helps a little. Thank you for your help. I appreciate it. But I still feel this situation, or I feel like this situation, could have been handled better. So he's probably not satisfied with the way the staff has handled this situation. Yeah, sometimes people feel that way. They're stuck in the airplane for a long time, and you don't hear any announcements or whatever, and you're wondering, what the heck is going on? Why are we sitting in this airplane all this time? They should at least tell us what's going on.
Yeah, and either let us off the airplane to go back into the airport and wait, which is much more comfortable, or, take off. Let's do something. I hate sitting on the runway just waiting. So the staff member says, I understand, and I assure you that we're doing our best. Maybe they don't have enough airline personnel who are taking care of all these passengers that have to rebook. That's frustrating, and you're in a long line. She says, please stay in touch with us for updates. An update is new information or new changes that you need to know about regarding a certain situation. So they often give those updates on your phone, especially if you've given them your phone number or you've loaded the app, you've downloaded the app onto your phone. They'll give you updates there. They'll also try to make announcements over the loudspeakers in the airport, but it's really best if you can put an app on your phone. And she finishes off by saying, again, we truly appreciate your patience. Hopefully at this point, he's being a little bit more polite with her.
Right. He might be a first-class passenger or something like that. Of course, they've paid extra money, like sometime maybe twice as much.
Three times
as much as people in economy class. So, of course, they expect to be treated with priority, and that's understandable because they did pay that money, or maybe their company paid for those seats for them. But yes, they should be given priority, and then people in economy class should be given last priority. It's kind of like being in third class or something like that. And if you're riding in third class or economy class, you should expect to be taken care of last because the priority should be given to business and first class. That's just how things go. Okay, that brings us to the end of our discussion for today. It's time now to listen to our Chinese teacher, but we'll be right back with some useful expressions and our discussion question for today.
听众朋友大家好，我是 Anna。我们昨天看到 AMC Airline 这个航空公司啊，说因为有台风来，然后这个班机取消了。今天我们来看一下，在机场啊，如果真的碰到这样的状况的时候，大概对话当中有哪些可以注意的字词甚至句型呢？好，我们首先看一下标题，标题当中的 stranded at the airport， 这个 stranded 啊，它指的是滞留的意思。那通常都是因为交通状况不好就滞留，比如说滞留在机场啊，塞在哪里啊，堵在哪里。好，这个 stranded 是很常用的哦。那我们看到的对话是工作人员跟乘客的对话，所以工作人员呢看到这个有乘客过来，当然就是问他 How can I help you? How may I help you? 那乘客我们来看第一个乘客，他首先一定就是抱怨一番嘛，一定是有事。他说哎呀，发现啊，飞往新加坡航空的这个班机啊， 飞往新加坡的航班因为台风被取消了，所以困在机场好几个小时。不过你看我们口语当中我们就没有用到 stranded， 他直接用 I have been stuck here at the airport for hours， 这是出现在第一个 passenger 的第二句的地方。好，重点是没有人可以给他一个 clear answer 明确的答复，而且他还不能离开机场哦。在这边的第一个 passenger 第三句的地方最后面，因为他说他并没有签证 I don't have a visa， 所以他不能离开机场啊，然后到别人的这个国土当中，所以他就觉得这个非常的 ridiculous， 实在太荒谬。所以这个 passenger 呢，一听就知道他正在抱怨 complain 一个情况。当然这时候工作人员呢，一定要先这个同理啊，道歉啊。所以我们看第二个 staff 的第一句 I truly apologize for the inconvenience， 我要真诚的来道歉，而且要同理。这个同理在英文当中叫做 empathy， E-M-P-A-T-H-Y， 这个叫做同理心。所以不管如何呢，在接受到 complaints 的时候啊，客户抱怨的时候，首先第一步就先同理对方啊，然后道歉，然后提供一些解决方案。所以第二句呢，看到的是 I understand， 哦，我了解啊 ，how frustrating， 这一定是非常的沮丧啊。It 又是一个虚主词，这个虚主词呢，代替的是后面真主词 to be stranded here。那中间我想要把这个 must be 提出来谈一下，因为 must 叫做一定， must 后面如果加动词原形，就表示对现在事实的推测啊，你现在滞留在这里一定是非常的 frustrating， 一定是令你感到很沮丧。It must be frustrating to be stranded here， 把这里的 how 跟 frustrating 提出来，就是有强调哦，有多沮丧的意思。那这个所谓的 must 推断啊，其实后面也有可能加 must have 加 PP 哦。例如你可能到机场接机的时候，朋友怎么都没有到啊，可能是班机 delay 了，或者是班机被取消了，你可能做一个对事实的推测。那这个班机的取消或者是 delay 应该是发生在过去，所以你可能说 the flight must have been cancelled， 或者是 the flight must have been delayed。所以 must 指的是一个过去事实或现在事实的推测，它用法不同。当然到这边呢，我们就讲说这个班机呢全部都是停飞的状态了吼，但是呢一定要确保乘客的安全。那当然乘客呢基本上就是会也是理解工作人员啦，我明白这不是你的错，但是有没有可能可以做一个 flight rebook 呢？可不可以稍微订晚一点的班机呢？接着我们就要来看第三个 staff 这个地方。好，第三个 staff 这边呢，就来做一些的这个问题的解决咯。但是因为没有办法预测航班什么时候会恢复，那这个预测呢，在第三个 staff 第二句当中用的是一个 predict。对啊，真的不晓得天气的状况如何。恢复的动词叫做 resume， R-E-S-U-M-E。那跟它长得很像的另外两个单字，一个叫做 consume， C-O-N-S-U-M-E， 这 consume 就有消费啊，花钱啊，然后用水用电用纸张啊，这些都叫做 consume， 所以它有消费的意思。还有一个 assume， A-S-S-U-M-E， assume 就是推测哈，经过一些事实啊证据啊，你的推测判断如何如何，这个叫做 assume。好，但是工作人员在这边第三句非常贴心，他说好，没关系，我会确保你可以优先改订哦，只要我们的营运一恢复正常的时候。这第三句中间有一个 once， 把它抓出来，在这里不是一次哦，它指的是一旦当我们的 operations are back on track 的时候，所以它其实是一个连接词的用法。这连接词就是像我们以前背过 as soon as， 一怎么怎么的时候，强调那个时间点，一旦恢复营运的时候就有 when 的功能。那当然还是会安排一些这个住宿啊，还有餐券啊，让旅客可以舒服的等待。好，当然这个乘客呢还是忍不住想要抱怨一下。最后面的第三个乘客他说好啦，这当然有一些帮助，但是我觉得这种情况本来可以处理得更好诶。来，我们来看一下在第三个 passengers 最后面这个地方的 could have been handled better， 这个地方特别把它划线起来。我们来看到 could have 加 PP 就表示过去可以做，但是却没有做到。Could have been handled 本来可以 handle 很好，你当时本来可以 handle 的很好，但是其实没有 handle 很好。那有没有可能加 not 呢？表示过去不可能如何，但是事实上真的发生了。有可能哦，例如你的朋友跟你说，你朋友骗你啦，他骗你啊，他不可能骗我吧？ He could not have lied to me 推测过去不可能，但是却做了。好，所以我们在第二个 staff 看到了一个 must 对事实的推测，我们在第三个 passenger 这边看到了一个过去可以做没做，或者是过去不可能出现却出现的一个事实句型。那当然工作人员还是会理解，然后保证，然后道歉。这就是我们今天看到的机场实况的英文对话，希望大家有帮助哦。我是安娜，我们下次见。
We're going to take a quick break. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Okay, welcome back, everybody. Again, we're talking about a flight delay or a flight cancellation because of the weather, because of a typhoon. This could happen for other reasons as well, maybe because of an earthquake or a hurricane or a tornado, a thunderstorm or whatever, or mechanical issues because the plane has a problem with its engine or something and there's going to be a delay or a cancellation. Now, of course, when this happens and you're a passenger, you're not happy. You want to complain. So here are some ways in which you can complain to somebody.
The first one says, I have a complaint to make. So this one doesn't sound too negative to start with. So I have a complaint to make. I was expecting a delivery of several monitors 2 days ago, but they still haven't arrived. This is someone calling into a store or a place where you can buy monitors, maybe computer monitors, I'm going to guess. There are very polite or soft ways of speaking if you have a complaint. I'm not sure you're aware if this happened, or I just wanted to mention that. This one is sort of neutral to me. I have a complaint to make. I guess you could yell, and then they would know you're really angry. But I think this was pretty neutral, not too polite, but not too rude.
Okay, you could also say, I would like to make a complaint. That's another way to express this. Here's number 2. If there's something screwed up in your order, you could say, there seems to be a mistake with my order. Okay, maybe you're in a restaurant and they send you the wrong food and you're not happy about that. So you'll contact the waiter or the waitress and say, yeah, there seems to be a mistake with my order. I did not order this. Can you take it back and bring me my proper order? In this particular case, though, we have a problem with something that was ordered online. I purchased a blue dress from your online store, but the one I received is red.
Well, maybe that was the first problem. You ordered a dress.
Yeah, probably they thought, what's a guy doing ordering a dress?
He got the wrong color, huh?
Yeah, and I can understand this because I like blue. And, well, red is nice, but blue is my favorite color. I think most people's favorite color is actually blue. But in this particular case, yeah, I purchased a blue dress from your online store. I went to your website or whatever, and I ordered a blue dress, but the one that came in the mail is red, so there is a mistake with my order.
You know, I'm kind of surprised that more mistakes aren't made. I order a lot online, and I guess it always is kind of surprising to me that people, for the most part, who are packing the boxes get it right. I know nowadays there are a lot of robots packing boxes, though, too, which is interesting. But yeah, sometimes mistakes are made. And remember, the person you're talking to, especially if you're calling customer service, isn't the person who made the mistake. So you need to be kind. Now, the third one is I need to let you know that there's been a problem with my shipment. I think this is a very nice way to approach this. Of course, a mistake was made, but this person sounds like they're being kind of nice, kind of polite. This person purchased 30 office chairs, but only received 3.
Ooh.
Now, if I were the customer, I would go back and see what my original order looked like. It may have been that the customer forgot to type a 0. And so it was the customer's problem or customer's fault and not the particular store. I always like to make sure that I'm not accusing them of being wrong before I double check what I put in my order. Because sometimes I find out I made the mistake and they didn't. So all these things are pretty important. If you want stronger phrases, you could say, this isn't acceptable. Why is this still happening? I'm getting really frustrated with this, but something needs to be done about this. I would save that for maybe the second or third call perhaps you need to make and start out by being as polite as possible at
first. Of course, if you want to pull rank on people, you can say, do you know who I am? If you don't treat me better, I'm going to have you fired or whatever.
Don't do that.
Of course, sometimes that's a bluff. Sometimes people just use that to get the staff to react faster. Okay, now it's time to discuss something here. We've got a question. What do you think are some of the biggest challenges passengers may face when their flights are canceled?
For me, it depends on the airport I'm in. Some of the airports I've had trouble finding a place to rest. So it's either really crowded. San Francisco is horrible. Sometimes I can't even find a seat, which is really insane, but it's very, very packed. Finding a place to rest, getting something to eat. Some of the people that fly have really special diets that they need to follow. And of course, if you're in an airport, you don't have very healthy food to choose from.
Well, for me, I think the biggest challenge is to deal with other passengers who are complaining about the fact that their flight has been delayed. You're thinking, yeah, it's only your problem, not mine. I don't have this problem at all. I'm on vacation forever, so the flight's delayed. No problem for me. But indeed, other people do complain as if they're the only person that is affected by this problem.
Yeah.
Okay, that brings us to the end of our lesson for today. Thanks for joining us, and we certainly hope that this does not happen to you. We hope that you don't have any delay in your flight plans, and have a pleasant journey. From all of us here at English Digest, I'm Tom.
I'm Stephanie.
Goodbye.
Bye.